Hello, my beautiful people. Try and get the sun out of that. Oh, there I am. So let's go back to the last video that I posted, which was about, I'm going to say 3 or 4 weeks ago. So 3 or 4 weeks ago, I came down to this exact spot and I got some water. And I have since been drinking that water every day. And from my last video to this one now, I can even recognize myself, like the changes in my skin and things like that, just from using or drinking rather really good water. So I was drinking stuff from, I don't drink tap water, so I have been purchasing water. But since drinking the water from Dalesford straight from the spring, I've noticed just the unbelievable difference that it's had within my body. Additional to that, I put it in my dog's food, so I add some water into their food as well, so they're getting the minerals out of the water. And with the sort of sediment that gets left at the bottom of the container, I've been putting it on my plants. And you have no idea how good my plants are thriving at the moment. Like, they were going from, like, the brink of, to literally thriving again. And I know that we're at the beginning of spring, so that's fair and reasonable. They've been sitting inside sort of in the heater and things like that. So their life has been a little bit winter-based. However, just the impact that water has on the plants and the animals and ourselves is, I mean, amazing just in itself. So, additional, I wanted to actually just talk about what had sort of been going on for me at the moment, because we've had a lot of astrological changes and things like that, and I'm interested in astrology, but I don't study it or get sort of too burrowed into it. But I do know enough about it to know the effects that it's having on my body and my pathway. And interestingly, there's been a big shift in the dynamics within my home, just in relation to the needs, wants, and desires of my child, what he, like his pathway and things like that. And obviously my needs, wants, and desires and my pathway and how I'm navigating those sorts of things. And it's interesting because I put it out there into the universe that I really wanted to do a lot more of the spiritual work that I have been doing. And I've been so blessed because that has truly come to fruition. And, it just goes to show how quickly things can manifest when we are in total alignment and in sitting in our truth in what we really want in life. And genuinely, when I put it out there, I sat with a couple of ideas. I currently work 3 jobs, so I sat with a couple of ideas about what I should or shouldn't do. And I have sort of just surrendered to the universe and allowed whatever it is to appear in front of me. And it's really interesting. There's no point in sort of discussing it, because ultimately everybody has this power within them to make a decision or find that place in your heart where you've made some level of a decision. And then once you do, you surrender to that decision. And once that surrendering has happened, and it's got to be a true surrender, it's amazing how things just start to align beautifully. And this has happened over the course of the last couple of years anyway. But I found myself recently, and it's probably to do with the retrograde, but I found myself recently returning to things in my past that I thought I had let go of. And I have let go of some massive things that have occurred in my life, and I feel like I've healed huge pathways and things like that. But there's just a couple of little things that have popped up, and I truly thought to myself that I had Well, that I was maybe um, not affected by them. And it's really interesting because the other night I let go of something that I had been holding on to for probably 3 years. And it wasn't a conscious holding on to it. I was just like, why does this still annoy me? I was driving out to a sound healing at the time. I was like, why does this still annoy me? And I just sat with it and I took myself all the way back to the beginning of that cycle. And I recognized that whilst I've sort of held on to this little problem for 3 years or thereabouts, I realized that in my 15-minute drive out to the sound healing, that I finished this loop, this cycle that I had sort of been telling myself this story. And I realized that, I'd been holding on to something for 3 years that only took 15 minutes to unravel because I took the time to sit with it. And it was just a reminder to me that if we take those moments to sit with our problems, we can close that loop. And sometimes, depending on the nature of the problem, but we can close that loop in a really short amount of time, and we understand that we have been living with an unnecessary burden or pain or stress that we didn't need to be living with. And when we have all of those things in our system, obviously it creates a disease. So dis-ease is disease. And, I pride myself on trying to remain, I guess as neutral as possible without suppressing emotions, but remaining as neutral as possible, because obviously trying to keep cortisol levels, um, I guess, balanced throughout my system and things like that, not working in that stressful place, because if you're coming from a place of stress, you're coming from a place of urgency, and that sense of urgency creates a lot of anxieties and things like that, and I just don't operate in that space anymore. So, it was just an interesting unfolding that I even have, often that things can just change as frequently as they do. But additional to that, really being mindful of the way that we share our energy and the way that we share our space and who we're sharing that with. And are those energies conducive to growth, or are those energies conducive to holding us back in a place that we have outgrown, I suppose, for want of a better term. So I've been doing a lot more work on the little things that I didn't realize that were still affecting me. And as I broke away more and more of those stories, I was putting it out there into the universe, what I desired for myself and for my business and things like that. And, astoundingly, I've had even more people reaching out. And this is all word of mouth. So it's kind of pretty buzzy that when you really start to align, just how quickly things can shift. And whilst they're not big shifts at this point, ultimately they're going to be huge shifts for the future, because we cannot, we can't just go leap sort of thing. It has to be small steps. And whilst everyone else thinks that, oh, you've taken a big leap, not really, because it's been consistent, and it's the little steps and consistency in those little steps that actually help us to continue to grow. So sometimes it can feel like growth is too slow at times, and we're forever waiting for something to appear or change. But the minute that we choose to surrender, it's a beautiful unfolding that we then get to witness, and ultimately be proud of the fact that we've created that from our inner sanctum. And it makes me think to myself as well, just how powerful we truly are as humans, and where's the end game? I mean, there is no there is no there is no end. I mean, it's honestly, it comes down to we are only victims of our own, like, box that we put ourselves in. And if you can break free from that box and break free from the belief systems that have held us back, then anything is possible. And it turns out that it certainly is, and I feel like I'm living proof of that at the moment. I know there's lots of people out there doing similar things, and I Yeah, I think I'm not out to sort of try and sway people one way or the other. I think that if you're in alignment with making those changes in your life, then the right people will find the right people. It's as simple as that. Um, but I would suggest, just making those little changes in life that can lead to big differences. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. That was an old ad from TV. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Um, which leads me to my next thing. Oh my gosh, I found this beautiful woman who creates the most unbelievable products. And this is not a, it's just that she's a good human who's doing the right thing by other humans. And I have changed all of the um, sort of skincare and things like that in my home for both myself and my son. And just the difference has been insane, absolutely insane. But collecting, those new little things in my life to kind of help me cleanse and clear and come back into alignment with my own self has been so beneficial. So again, it's not necessarily big drastic moves that you have to make. Sometimes it's just the little things that can make all the difference. And yeah, I just think that it's really important to remember that we don't have to work at it. If you are following your heart center, it becomes easy. It becomes so easy to be in alignment with what is within your heart. It's easy to explain, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to live when it's coming from your heart space rather than intellectualizing the things that we think we should or shouldn't be doing in order to gain some level of success, be it within ourselves or work, business, family life, whatever it may be. It's still taking the small steps to get to the bigger destination. And yeah, I'm just on another small step leading to a bigger destination. But I'm positively glowing from all of these good products and this amazing water and time spent in nature and happiness and joy and surrender. So, yeah, that's all I think for today. I hope everyone's having a beautiful day. I certainly am. Thursdays are my me day, and sometimes a day to touch base with you guys as well. So it's nice to do that. If anyone is looking to connect, do some healing, some breath work. I've got somebody that booked in for breath work actually next week, which I haven't done for a little while, so I'm looking forward to a one-on-one breathwork session. But if you're looking to sort of find new pathways and things like that, please feel free to reach out as always. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoys this glorious day that we're having today, and we appreciate all that we have. I certainly do. Much love to you all. And I found another rock.